For Ghazali, man cannot live all by himself and has social needs. He needs company for procreation and to prepare food, clothing, and other necessities. Cooperation is necessary for trade to flourish, to build walls needed for protection against external intruders, houses to withstand the elements of nature, to keep people in proper bounds within canon law, and lastly, arbitration and government in order to deal with quarrels and feuds. All these things are necessary for the political well-being of the people, and each of them requires the superintendence of men of special qualities. For example, a collector of revenue who should make the collections with leniency and justice, an assessor who should have charge of the revenues collected, and a paymaster who should disburse the amount sanctioned. An emir should be at the helm of affairs, who should be able to make appointments to all these offices, to see that justice is done in financial matters, send armies to the fields of war, distribute arms amongst his soldiers, and appoint commanders to lead them. Ghazali goes on to divide the population of a country into farmers, husbandmen, and handicraftsmen, men of sword, men of pen. Ghazali says that it is impossible to have a permanent organization of worldly affairs without a ruler or sultan, and as without such an organization, it would be impossible to act according to divine commandments with peace and order. Such political organization has the sanction of the law of Islam. He says that without a ruler to whom the people should habitually be obedient, there would be continuous turmoil, a never-ending clanging of the swords, a recurring state of famine and cattle diseases, and an end to all industries and handicraft. Interdependence, which is in the nature of human beings, is the basis of Ghazali's argument. Ghazali indicates that there are two aspects of human conduct, individual and social, and it is only when man is regarded as a social being that the need of such sciences as law and politics arises. He is precise with regards to the distinction between law, which deals with the relation among individuals for the settlement of their disputes, and that dealing with the ruler and the people for fixing the criterion of the rule of justice. He goes on to indicate the relation between the state and religion, and says that they are like twin sisters, religion being the foundation of human society and the ruler of the state its preserver, so that if the foundation weakens, the whole structure would fall down, and if the ruler were to cease to function, there would be no one to preserve the foundation. Nature of state. Ghazali likens the different elements of the state to the organs of a living body. Ghazali states, consider the city or state as a physical body, the professions as limbs, the ordering magistrate its desire, the police its anger, the king its heart, and the minister its common sense. The king requires the assistance of all these organs to carry on the work of the state. But desire, by which is meant the magistrate, sometimes indulges in falsehood and exaggeration, and works against the dictates of common sense, the prime minister. This desire wants to annex all there is in the state in the shape of revenue. The police anger is very sharp and is of wayward habits, always wishing to kill or at least wound others. The king is in the habit of consulting his minister and keeps recalcitrant magistrate under his control. It is only when the king, heart, talks counsel with the minister, common sense, and controls desire and anger, making both subservient to common sense, then and only then will the state be managed well. On the other hand, if anger and desire succeed in incarcerating common sense, then the whole body politic will be destroyed and the king heart will have to see a very bad day. Nature of government. Democracy, with all its attendant consequences, demands that there should be system of checks and balances, and the authority of the ruler should be hedged in by the authority of the legislature, which generally encroaches more and more upon the executive power till that power may be transferred to the hands of its chosen representatives. In Islam, there is no real kingship, but in Ghazali's time, this ideal had given place to the numerous dynasties which had grown up in different parts of the Muslim empire. What Ghazali does is to put the two ideas together and to draw his own conclusions as to how kingship can be adapted to the Islamic ideal of equality before God, unlimited by the dictates of the law. He brings down kingship to the level of the democratic emirate by hedging it with the ideal set up by the Apostle of Islam and his successors. We find that the transition between the two, his ideal and the modern democratic nations, is not so difficult, for in both cases it is law which is uppermost, may it be human or divine. Ghazali makes the council a prerequisite for successful kingship. The need for counsel is the second principle of government after justice. Kings who take the advice of the learned are regarded as the best of their order, while the learned men are taught to act independently of the king and according to the definite orders of God as enjoined in the Quran. Duties of the ruler. Ghazali enumerates the necessary qualities of an ideal ruler and says that he should have intellect, knowledge, perception, correct proportion of things, chivalry, love for his subjects, diplomatic bent, foresight, strong willpower, and should be well versed in the news of the day and the history of the kings who have passed away. He should also see that his magistrates, secretaries, viceroys, and other officers did their work well. It is chiefly in these qualities, he says, which go to make a ruler the shadow of God on earth. The rules of daily routine is demonstrated by him as follows. After morning prayers, he should go out riding in order to investigate any wrong done to his subjects. He then sit in court and allow all and diverse people to have a direct access to him, so that he might have a first-hand knowledge of any complaints that might be made. He should make it a point of taking counsel from those excelling in knowledge, intelligence, and experience, and should himself give interviews to foreign envoys. A ruler should be well versed in diplomacy and politics and should not be inclined to peace simply through timidity or fear of enemies. He warns the ruler against too much indulgence in drink, chess, or hunting. He tells that good kings divide their time in 4 parts, setting apart one for prayers, another for state affairs, justice and counsel of the learned about the affairs of the realm, the third for food and rest, and the last for recreation and hunting. He should not pay heed to the advice offered by his women favorites and warns against favoritism. Of course, with public services to be performed with the limited income at the disposal of the ruler, it would not be possible for him to live a life of plenty and luxury. Justice. It is the transitory condition of the world which Ghazali has in mind when he warns the sovereign that all worldly blessings come to an end at the time of death. He makes it absolutely clear that it is against divine orders that one should be unjust or cruel to others, laying down the noble precept that while dealing with their subjects, kings should feel in the same way as they would wish others to treat them if they had been subjects instead of kings. Ghazali says that in order to acquire the quality of being the shadow of God on earth with all its implications, it is necessary that the ruler should be careful that the person wronged should always be able to have his wrong righted. The ruler is the vicegerent of God only if he is just, otherwise he is the vicegerent of the devil himself, and one day of justice is equal to 70 years of continuous prayer. He enumerates 10 rules of conduct of government which the ruler should bear in mind, namely, in every case the ruler should mentally put himself in the position of the contending parties. He should fulfill the desire of those who have come to him for justice. Justice is possible only when the ruler does not indulge in luxurious food and clothing. He should practice leniency in his official dealings. He should try that the subjects should be content with the rule of law, but he should not attempt any conciliation at the expense of the law. He should supervise the affairs of the people in the same way as if he were to supervise his own household affairs. He should try to meet the learned as often as he can and should encourage them to have their say. He should see that his servants, magistrates, and other officers perform their duties diligently and well. He should not be overpowered by any false sense of pride.